In 1903, a man named Johnson Oatman Jr. wrote 4 stanzas to a song that would be called Lift Him Up. It's based on our text that we're going to look at for a moment today in John chapter 12, verse 32. In that text, Jesus says, "And if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me." That's not the first time Jesus uses the terminology lifted up about himself in the Gospel of John. In fact, in John chapter 8, he says, "When you lift the Son of Man up, you will know that I am he." Earlier in John chapter 3, when he's having the conversation with Nicodemus, Jesus says in verse 14 of John 3, "Just as Moses lifted the serpent up in the wilderness, so must the Son of Man be lifted up." John chapter 12 gives us the exact definition of what lifted up means. In fact, the next verse, after Jesus says that he must be lifted up, the next verse says that he spoke this, signifying or telling us what death he must die. You see, Jesus is talking about his crucifixion. And while it's such an ironic thing to think about, because great leaders and great men who want to be popular, the last thing they want to do is die. They want to carry themselves on. But Jesus says, in order for me to be the leader that I need to be, in order for me to have the following that I'm going to have, I must die. I must be lifted up. And then that will be a drawing power. Because when Jesus was lifted up on the cross to die, we know that that wasn't the end of the story. Indeed, it would be a very sad story if it was. But Jesus' death only made way for his glorious resurrection. And with his death and his resurrection, we have Jesus lifted up and drawing us unto him. Jesus draws us through his death on the cross. And Jesus draws us through his resurrection. Earlier in this text, he had been talking about his glorification. And that's ultimately what all of this is about. And so, yes, Jesus was lifted up literally on the cross from the earth, but he's also lifted up in our hearts and our minds and our souls because he's glorified. I hope each and every one of us will lift up Jesus in glory in all that we do, all that we say, and everywhere we go. Indeed, the Son of Man is lifted up to draw us unto him.